Melbourne, capital of invisible crime. A mafia that arrived a century ago and no one noticed. No bullets in the streets, no sensational headlines, just absolute control over fruits, vegetables, and tons of cocaine. The Calabrian Ndrangheta built Australia's most silent criminal empire. When the FBI finally exposed them in 2021, the world discovered something terrifying. They had been operating in plain sight for 100 years. They controlled supermarkets, managed politicians, financed motorcycle clubs, and no one, absolutely no one, dared to stop them until a messaging app betrayed them. December 18, 1922, the ship Re d'Italia docks at the port of Fremantle, Western Australia. It's an ordinary Italian cargo vessel loaded with immigrants fleeing post-war poverty. Immigration officials review papers, stamp passports, welcome the newcomers. None suspect that among the weary faces of Calabrian peasants travel three men with a calculated mission. They are not refugees, they are advance units, founding members of the Ndrangheta sent to establish cells in virgin territory. One disembarks in Perth, Domenico Strano continues to Adelaide. The third, Antonio Barbaro, known in Platy for his coldness and organizational capacity, heads to Melbourne. They carry no weapons, they raise no alarms, they commit no visible crimes for years. They bring something infinitely more dangerous: the blood codes of Calabria, lists of trusted families, memorized initiation rituals, hierarchical structures that have survived centuries of state persecution, and above all, patience. In 8 years, Melbourne will have its first recognized godfather. In 30, it will control the fruit and vegetable markets of all Eastern Australia. In 50, it will have ordered the assassination of a politician and defeated every police agency that tried to dismantle it. In 100, it will control 70% of the world's cocaine trafficking. The contradiction is simple and devastating. For an entire century, Australia ignored the planet's most powerful criminal organization, operating on its own soil. It wasn't occasional negligence. It was systematic blindness fueled by racism, incompetence, and eventually corruption. The Ndrangheta didn't come to conquer through violence. It came to integrate with cunning. While newspapers sensationalized the Sicilian Mafia and Hollywood fabricated stereotypes about Cosa Nostra, the Calabrians bought farms, opened fruit shops, donated to Catholic churches, raised Australian children, and wove marriage networks that turned Melbourne into a transnational drug trafficking node as crucial as Naples or Rotterdam. By the time federal authorities understood the real extent of their power, it was too late. Tentacles extended through every level of society. National supermarkets paid invisible taxes to the organization. Politicians attended fundraising events organized by capos. Prominent lawyers represented mafia interests while secretly informing the police. Judges ruled on cases where both parties had connections to the same criminal network. And at the center of it all, Melbourne. Elegant, multicultural, prosperous. The perfect city to hide an empire built on cocaine and omertà. In 1930, Domenico Italiano disembarks in Melbourne directly from Platy. He doesn't come as a refugee. He comes as an emissary. His lineage in Calabria is impeccable. His father was one of the original founders of the Ndrangheta in the 19th century. He carries letters of introduction signed by capos in Aspromonte. When he meets with Antonio Barbaro at Victoria Market, there is no power negotiation. Italiano naturally assumes the title of Il Papa, the Pope. Barbaro, nicknamed Il Rospo, The toad, for his stocky physical appearance and ability to remain motionless for hours watching, accepts the enforcer role without resistance. It's not submission, it's recognition of blood hierarchy, the fundamental code that distinguishes the Ndrangheta from all other criminal organizations. Victoria Market becomes their fiefdom, a labyrinth of fruit, vegetable, meat, and fish stalls that supplies all of Melbourne. Thousands of vendors compete for spaces. Trucks arrive before dawn. Money flows in cash. It's the perfect territory to establish control. Italiano and Barbaro don't present themselves as mobsters. They position themselves as mediators. When disputes arise between vendors, they intervene. When someone needs credit to expand their business, they connect with lenders. When merchandise is stolen, they recover what was lost. Slowly, methodically, they build a reputation as men who solve problems. The Sergi, Papalia, and Trimboli families, all from Platy, established themselves in Griffith, New South Wales. The town is 600 kilometers from Melbourne, surrounded by fertile agricultural land. It's perfect for growing more than fruits and vegetables. In 1935, Francesco Barbaro, Antonio's brother, arrives in Griffith and earns the nickname Little Trees because he plants citrus on his farm. It's smart cover. Orange and lemon trees hide experimental cannabis plantations between the rows. Rural authorities lack resources to inspect every farm. Neighbors see agricultural prosperity, not organized crime. In Perth and Sydney, the other cells replicate the model with local variations. Perth specializes in importing Italian products, olive oil, pasta, cheeses. Sydney develops connections with the port and dock workers' unions. By 1940, the national network is consolidated. The organization has recorded 10 homicides and 30 bombings in Queensland and Victoria. Police reports attribute them to disputes among Italians or Mediterranean crimes of passion. No one mentions the Ndrangheta because no one outside Calabria knows that name. Australian authorities have only heard of the Sicilian Cosa Nostra and assume all Italian criminals belong to the same organization. It's a mistake that will take decades to correct. The Australian model works because the Calabrian Mafia understands something that escapes other criminal groups. True power is not displayed, it's exercised in absolute silence. There are no spectacular territorial wars that fill front pages. No public beheadings or bodies hanging from bridges. Just an invisible tax on every box of tomatoes, every shipment of lemons, every kilo of cannabis circulating through the continent. Supermarkets pay without question because the cost of resisting exceeds the cost of complying. Politicians receive generous donations and attend dinners where Italian community concerns are discussed. Authorities chase noisy motorcycle gangs while the true architects of organized crime appear in business pages as successful entrepreneurs, generous philanthropists, and respected community leaders. Extortion at Victoria Market is a masterpiece of social engineering. There are no direct threats or visible violence. The system is elegant, almost invisible to those not trained to see it. A new vendor arrives at the market wanting to rent a stall. They explain he needs to use certain truckers to bring his merchandise. Those truckers are connected to the organization. They recommend specific suppliers of boxes and packaging. Those suppliers pay a percentage to the Mafia. They suggest hiring workers from a particular employment agency. That agency is owned by Barbaro's nephew. At every stage of his operation, The vendor is paying tribute without realizing he's doing it. But there's a crack in the perfect system, a question no one dares to formulate aloud for decades. If this organization has been operating unmolested for a century, controlling markets, infiltrating institutions, accumulating power generation after generation, how much real control does it have over Australia? How many government officials are on its payroll? How many judges have ruled cases favoring mafia interests without knowing it? How many legitimate businesses were built with criminal capital? And the most disturbing question of all, the one that keeps organized crime investigators awake, if they finally decide to dismantle it completely, will it even be possible after 100 years of entrenchment? Or has the Ndrangheta already become an inseparable part of the country's economic and social fabric? The Ndrangheta is born in the mountains of Aspromonte, Calabria, in the late 19th century, shaped by centuries of extreme poverty, state abandonment, and foreign invasions that taught Calabrians that government is the enemy and family is the only trustworthy institution. It's not the Sicilian Cosa Nostra with its rigid pyramidal structure and regional commissions. It's not the Neapolitan Camorra with its territorial chaos and hundreds of fragmented clans competing for the same streets. The Ndrangheta is something older, more tribal, infinitely more resistant to police infiltration. Its name derives from ancient Greek andros agatheia, the virtues of the valiant man. But what truly distinguishes it from any other criminal organization in the world is its impenetrable blood code. You don't enter through demonstrated loyalty or exceptional criminal skills. You're born into it or you marry into it. Families intertwine through strategic marriages planned over generations. A Barbaro marries a Sergi, a Papalia marries a Trimboli. Children inherit the criminal role exactly as others inherit a family business or a profession. A lawyer has lawyer children, a doctor has doctor children, an Ndrangetista has Ndrangetista children. Betrayal is structurally impossible because betraying the organization means betraying your own blood, condemning your father, brothers, cousins, uncles. It's family suicide. This system produces absolute omerta that no police agency has broken in 150 years. The code of silence isn't maintained only through fear of retaliation. It's maintained because talking to authorities equals destroying your complete identity. The few who have tried to collaborate with justice ended up dead or lived in underground bunkers in Calabria, awaiting inevitable revenge. In the early 20th century, Calabria is Italy's poorest region. The land is mountainous, arid, unproductive. The government only collects taxes and recruits young men for wars. In this vacuum, the Ndrangheta consolidates as a parallel government. It resolves disputes, provides loans, delivers justice faster than any state judge. When mass emigration arrives between 1880 and 1920, the organization sees a calculated opportunity for global expansion. In Melbourne, Antonio Barbaro settles in the wholesale fruit and vegetable market. He observes, he learns, he builds trust. In 1930, when Domenico Italiano arrives from Calabria with superior credentials, the hierarchy consolidates. Italiano doesn't need to demonstrate authority. His lineage speaks for itself. Barbaro accepts the second-in-command role without resistance. In the Ndrangheta, blood determines rank. Victoria Market becomes a laboratory for sophisticated extortion. Vendors must accept representatives designated by the organization. In exchange, they receive protection against theft and unfair competition. Those who refuse suffer fires, ruined merchandise, or nighttime assaults. Authorities record incidents as common crime. Vendors learn quickly it's cheaper to pay than to resist. By 1950, the network extends to Queensland. In Griffith, the Sergius and Barbaros dominate agricultural production. Superficially, they're prosperous farmers. Beneath the surface, they cultivate cannabis. Isolated farms offer natural protection. Family ties guarantee omerta. Profits are laundered through restaurants, import companies, and transport businesses. The model works because Australia underestimates the threat. Federal authorities are obsessed with communism during the Cold War. State departments lack specialized personnel. No interstate cooperation exists. The Ndrangheta exploits every jurisdictional gap. When Victoria investigates, suspects move to New South Wales. The country is vast, resources limited. The Mafia has time, patience, and a devastating advantage. They look like hardworking immigrants, not international criminals. The Australian Ndrangheta operates through two parallel structures that never directly touch but function in perfect symbiosis. The first is the local Ndrangheta, families born or raised in Australia, completely integrated into society, owners of legitimate businesses, respected in their communities. They speak English without accents. Their children attend Australian universities. They participate in local politics. They're invisible as mobsters. The second is the transnational Ndrangheta. Operators who maintain direct links with Calabria, receive orders from capos in Platy, coordinate drug shipments from Europe and South America, and return to Italy when heat increases in Australia. Drug trafficking routes are designed with logistical precision. Cocaine departs from Colombia to European ports controlled by the Ndrangheta in Calabria, especially Gioia Tauro. There it's fragmented into smaller shipments, hidden in containers of tomatoes, olive oil, or cheese, and sent to Melbourne. The Port of Melbourne, one of the largest in the Southern Hemisphere, processes millions of containers annually. Customs inspects less than 5%. The odds favor the traffickers. When a shipment is intercepted, losses are absorbed as an operating cost. The profit margin in the Australian market is so obscene that one successful shipment compensates for 10 failed ones. Ecstasy follows another route. Clandestine laboratories in Belgium and Holland produce the pills. They're packaged in cans with falsified seals from legitimate Italian companies. Containers cross the Mediterranean, traverse the Suez Canal, reach Asian ports, and finally land in Australia. In 2008, this system delivered 15 million pills hidden in 3,000 tomato cans. It's the largest ecstasy seizure in world history. Authorities celebrate the blow. Then Ndrangheta absorbs the loss and sends the next shipment 3 months later. Money laundering uses high cash turnover businesses. Restaurants, cafes, bakeries, and fruit shops process enormous amounts of cash without raising suspicion. A restaurant declares 500 customers on a night it actually served 100. The difference is criminal profits converted to legitimate income. Pizza chains like La Porchetta, partially controlled by figures linked to the organization, launder millions through multiple locations. Accountants create false invoices, invent phantom suppliers, inflate operating expenses. Tax audits rarely detect fraud because the volume of legitimate transactions hides the illegal ones. Alliances with criminal motorcycle clubs amplify reach. The Ndrangheta doesn't distribute drugs directly on the streets. It hires Hells Angels, Comancheros, and rebels for that task. Motorcyclists receive wholesale product, assume the risk of retail distribution, and pay a percentage to the Calabrians. This model creates a strategic separation layer. When police dismantle a distribution network, they capture low-level bikers, never the Italian financiers who remain untouchable in their legitimate business offices. Political infiltration is subtle but effective. Calabrian families donate generously to electoral campaigns of both parties. They organize fundraising events where state and federal politicians mingle with businessmen from the Italian community. They don't openly request favors. They simply build relationships. When an organization member faces deportation, politicians receive calls from concerned friends requesting humanitarian review of the case. When plans arise to relocate the wholesale market, businessmen link to the Mafia pressure location decisions to protect their real estate investments. The system doesn't require blatant corruption. It works through gradual favors, accumulated loyalties, personal connections that blur the line between legitimate politics and criminal influence. December 13, 1962. Domenico Italiano dies of natural causes in Melbourne. He's 65 years old. He's ruled the organization for 3 decades without a single criminal charge. Weeks later, Antonio Barbaro also dies. The power vacuum is immediate and violent. 2 factions emerge. Vincenzo Ndrangheta leads a group wanting to maintain traditional market control. Vincenzo Muratori heads another faction with narcotics expansion ambitions. Disagreements are resolved with shotguns. April 4, 1963. Ndrangheta is shot dead in his car. November 26th, Alfonso Muratori dies at home. December 8th, Vincenzo Muratori falls riddled with bullets. Melbourne streets register Mafia-style executions the country had never witnessed. Newspapers dub it the Victoria Market Murders. Police are baffled. They don't understand they're observing a succession war within an organization that officially doesn't exist. The Victoria government invites 2 international experts, John Cusack from the FBI and Ugo Massera, police commissioner in Calabria. Their 1964 reports are devastating. Cusack and Massera reveal the existence of the Honored Society in Australia, a branch of the Calabrian Ndrangheta operating since 1922. They document the hierarchical structure, identify over 100 active members, map their legitimate and illegitimate businesses, and warn that without immediate action, the organization will diversify into heavy drugs, construction contracts, labor unions, and alcoholic beverage distribution. They recommend intensive surveillance, interstate cooperation, specialized units, and anti-mafia legislation. The government files the report. The recommendations are never implemented. Liborio Benvenuto emerges as the new godfather. He's a Victoria market trader, discreet, respected, without criminal record. He rules until 1988 without facing charges. Under his leadership, the organization expands methodically. In 1965, an ASIO report confirms the Ndrangheta controls 50% of fruit and vegetable commerce in Melbourne. In 1970, Coles and Woolworths are paying 50 cents per case of product from suppliers designated by the Mafia. A Coles executive will later estimate this costs the chain $5 million annually. The scheme continues into the early 90s without interruption. Griffith becomes Australia's cannabis capital during the 1970s. Plantations extend across thousands of hectares on remote farms surrounded by legitimate crops that serve as perfect camouflage. The Sergius, Barbaros, and Trimbolus control every stage: production, processing, packaging, and national distribution. Profits are astronomical, transforming modest farmers into invisible millionaires who reinvest in properties, legitimate businesses, and strategic political donations. Australian cannabis is superior quality, grown in ideal conditions, and the domestic market pays prices that would make Colombian cartels blush. But there's a growing problem. Donald Mackay. He's a local furniture salesman, 6'3", 230 pounds, former A-grade squash player. Father of 4, active Anglican church member. In 1974, he decides to run as a Liberal candidate for federal parliament in Riverina. During the campaign, he discovers something everyone in Griffith knows but no one openly discusses. Farms around town are cultivating tons of cannabis with local authority complicity. He can't stay silent. Mackay begins his crusade writing anonymous letters to regional newspapers. He denounces the hypocrisy of a community that boasts family values while allowing drug trafficking to destroy young people. His letters generate controversy but little action. Frustrated, he directly contacts the Narcotics Division of New South Wales Police in Sydney, bypassing local authorities he doesn't trust. He provides exact locations of plantations, names of suspect owners, traffic patterns on rural roads. His information is accurate, detailed, incriminating. November 10, 1975. Based on Mackay's intelligence, police execute the largest anti-drug raid in Australian history to that point. Helicopters fly over fields in Colombali, 62 kilometers south of Griffith. They discover 32 hectares of mature cannabis ready for harvest. Estimated black market value, $25 million. They arrest 4 men, Giuseppe Agresta, Francesco Sergi, and 2 minor associates. It's a devastating blow to the local Ndrangheta. The trial is held in March 1977 at Griffith District Court. During cross-examination, defense lawyers minutely examine detectives' notebooks. It becomes clear to anyone paying attention that police had extremely specific information provided by a local informant. Rumors circulate through Griffith like wildfire. Only one person in town has been publicly campaigning against cannabis: Donald Mackay. The organization debates internally what to do with him. Opinions divide along generational lines. Old capos like Francesco Barbaro argue that killing him will attract unwanted media attention, unsustainable police pressure, possibly federal investigations. The younger ones, led by Robert Trimble, insist that leaving him alive establishes a catastrophic precedent. If a civilian can denounce them with impunity, others will imitate. They send consultations to Calabria. The response from capos in Platy is unequivocal. The problem must be eliminated. Omerta requires examples. Trimble receives the order to execute the decision. July 15, 1977. Friday afternoon, Donald Mackay finishes his workday at Mackay's Furniture, the family store in downtown Griffith. At 6 p.m., he meets friends at the Griffith Hotel for beer and relaxation. It's a weekly ritual. They chat about sports, local politics, business. Mackay seems relaxed, in good humor. At 6:30, he says goodbye and walks to the back parking lot where his Holden van is parked. The winter sun is already setting. Parking lot lighting is dim. He never arrives home. At 1:30 a.m., his wife Barbara calls police reporting his disappearance. Detectives find his van in the hotel parking lot, locked. Under the vehicle are his keys. On the ground are bloodstains of type AB, Mackay's blood type. A few meters away, 3.22 caliber shell casings. Drag marks lead toward where another vehicle would have been parked. Forensic analysis indicates Mackay was surprised, struck, possibly knocked out, then shot 3 times in the head at point-blank range. His body was loaded into a vehicle and transported to an unknown location. 48 years later, it has never been found. The impact is seismic. It's the first political assassination in Australian history. National media flood Griffith. Journalists investigate, ask uncomfortable questions, expose connections between prominent Italian families and drug trafficking. Public pressure forces the New South Wales government to act. Premier Neville Wran has no choice. He establishes the Woodward Royal Commission to exhaustively investigate drug trafficking in the state. It's the first time Australia takes the Ndrangheta seriously. The Woodward Royal Commission works for 2 years investigating not just Mackay's murder, but the entire structure of drug trafficking in New South Wales. In 1979, Justice Philip Woodward presents a 1,000-page report that exposes the most uncomfortable truth Australia has faced about organized crime. Mackay was murdered by a professional hitman acting under orders from the Honoured Society, the local name for the Ndrangheta, specifically the Griffith cell. Woodward names 6 primary suspects: Francesco Sergi, Dominic Sergi, 2 individuals named Antonio Sergi, Francesco Barbaro, and Robert Trimble. But here's the problem that destroys any possibility of successful prosecutions. All have perfect alibis, meticulously constructed, backed by multiple witnesses. The night of the murder, Tony and Dominic Sergi, identified as primary suspects, were on a pub crawl in Griffith, drinking with several local police officers. Giuseppe and Rocco Barbaro traveled to Sydney, then the Gold Coast, not returning to Griffith until 5 days after the murder. Francesco Barbaro, Tony Sergi's brother-in-law, spent the night at the Griffith Ex-Servicemen's Club, surrounded by witnesses. Robert Trimble dined at a restaurant in Randwick, Sydney, with receipts proving it. The commission identifies something even more disturbing than the murder itself: systematic infiltration of local police forces, corruption reaching state levels, professional intimidation of potential witnesses, and a network of lawyers acting as intermediaries between the criminal organization and the legal system. Woodward recommends intensive surveillance of suspect families, creation of specialized units on Italian organized crime, anti-mafia legislation similar to Italy's, robust witness protection, and crucially, purging corrupt elements in Griffith police. The government ignores almost all recommendations. The reasons are complex: lack of political will, fear of ethnic persecution accusations, pressure from the legitimate Italian community feeling stigmatized, and fundamentally, continued underestimation of the threat. Politicians assume dismantling some cannabis plantations will solve the problem. They don't understand they're facing an organization that has perfected its craft for 150 years in Calabria. In 1986, James Basley, a hitman who had worked for the organization, is convicted of conspiracy to murder Mackay and for the murders of New Zealand drug couriers Douglas and Isabel Wilson. He receives life imprisonment but never reveals who ordered Mackay's assassination or where his body is buried. He dies in 2018 at 93, taking secrets to his grave. June 28, 2007. A routine day at the Port of Melbourne becomes the most significant anti-drug operation in the country's history. Australian customs officials detain a 40-foot container that arrived from Naples on the merchant vessel MSC Erica. The cargo manifest declares 3,000 cans of San Giorgio, peeled tomatoes destined for catering companies in Melbourne and Sydney. It's a common product. Thousands of similar containers enter the port monthly, but this container was flagged for random inspection as part of a routine verification program. Inspectors open several boxes at random. The cans look completely normal. Labeling is professional. Weight corresponds exactly to what's declared. Seals are intact. But something doesn't add up for one veteran inspector. The weight is correct, but the weight distribution inside each can feel strange when shaken. A can of peeled tomatoes has uniform weight. These cans have a solid center surrounded by liquid. He orders one open. When they open it, they discover the interior contains a plastic bag, vacuum sealed, containing approximately 5,000 ecstasy pills compressed into white tablets with a Dove logo. Around the bag is about half a liter of actual tomato puree to create correct weight and fool basic detectors. It's sophisticated engineering. If not for the experienced inspector who noticed the anomalous weight distribution, the shipment would have passed without problems like thousands before. They order full container inspection. All 3,000 cans contain the same scheme: 15 million ecstasy pills, 440 million Australian dollars in street value. It's the largest ecstasy seizure in world history to that point. The Australian Federal Police launches Operation Inca, the largest investigation ever mounted against Italian organized crime in the country. Agents traced the logistics chain backward. The cans were manufactured at a legitimate factory in Campania, Italy, which had no idea its products were being diverted for criminal use. The container was loaded at the port of Naples, territory controlled by the Camorra, but investigation reveals the operation was coordinated by the Calabrian Ndrangheta, using Neapolitan contacts for packaging. The shipment crossed the Mediterranean, passed through the Suez Canal, made a stopover in Singapore, and finally arrived in Melbourne. At each point, strategic bribes ensured the container avoided deep inspection. In Melbourne, police identify the recipient. Pasquale Pat Barbaro, 46 years old, Griffith resident. He's the son of Francesco Littletrees Barbaro, one of the 6 suspects named by the Woodward Royal Commission in Donald Mackay's murder 30 years earlier. Pat Barbaro has lived his entire life between Griffith and Melbourne, always in the fruit and vegetable business, always connected with the same families, always under intermittent police surveillance, but never arrested for anything significant. In the 90s, he was investigated for a massive cannabis plantation in Riverina, but charges were dropped for insufficient evidence. Now federal police have irrefutable proof of his participation in Australia's largest drug seizure. The case reveals infiltration depth. Containers arrived without obstacles because dock workers on the organization's payroll ensured they avoided inspection. Defense lawyers were police informants, creating legal chaos that almost destroyed the case. One of them, Joseph Aquaro, will be murdered in 2016 when his double game is discovered. Francesco Mataferri is sentenced to life imprisonment with a 30-year minimum. Pasquale Barbaro receives the same sentence, but the organization continues operating. In 2018, the Australian Federal Police and FBI launched the boldest operation in global organized crime history. After agents dismantled the Phantom Secure encrypted communications platform, they left a vacuum in the criminal market. The FBI offers the solution, a new application called ANOM, supposedly inviolable. Criminals need to know another criminal to get a device. Phones can't make calls or send emails, only encrypted messages to other ANOM users. The application distributes organically through the criminal network. Respected underworld figures vouch for it. It's the most successful Trojan in history. For 3 years, from 2018 to 2021, authorities read every message in real time. They discover plans to import tons of cocaine, murder orders, clandestine laboratory locations, money laundering routes, and crucially, the complete structure of the Ndrangheta in Australia. Messages reveal Australian members received direct orders from capos in Calabria, that motorcycle clubs operate as private armies for the Mafia, that local politicians have attended events organized by criminal figures. June 8, 2021, the net closes. Operation Ironside executes 800 simultaneous search warrants across Australia. They arrest 383 people. They seize 6.3 tons of drugs, 147 weapons, and $55 million in cash. Among those detained are confirmed Ndrangheta members, motorcycle club leaders, cocaine traffickers, money laundering specialists, and a reality show figure. It's the most devastating blow the Calabrian Mafia has suffered in Australia in a century of operations. But the real damage isn't in the arrests, it's in the exposure. For decades, the Australian Ndrangheta functioned because no one talked about it. Media ignored its existence. Politicians denied its presence. Authorities minimized the threat. ANOM destroyed that veil. Intercepted messages prove the organization controls 70% of global cocaine trafficking, launders billions annually through Australia, has infiltrated government institutions, and considers the country its most profitable per capita market on the planet. The Ndrangheta didn't collapse after Ironside. It adapted. The most exposed families retreated to legitimate businesses. Transnational operators returned to Europe. Links with motorcycle clubs were renegotiated with greater discretion. New encrypted communication platforms replaced ANOM. The organization has over 150 years of experience surviving government offensives. Australia represents just one of its multiple global markets. The loss is significant but not terminal. However, something changed irreversibly. For the first time in a century, Australian authorities publicly recognized that the Ndrangheta is the most serious organized crime threat facing the country. AFP Assistant Commissioner Nigel Ryan stated in 2022 that dismantling the organization will be long and challenging, and that they almost own some motorcycle clubs that execute violence under their orders. Italy sent agents from the National Anti-Mafia Directorate to collaborate with Australia, sharing intelligence on family structures and operational codes. The political revelations were devastating. Michael Tatey, Labour Party delegate in Victoria's parliament, was expelled in 2016 after The Age revealed he worked as Francesco Madaferi's business manager, while Madaferi faced criminal charges. Matthew Guy, Liberal opposition leader, was photographed dining with Antonio Madaferi, discussing wholesale fruit market relocation. Guy insisted he didn't know who Madaferi was. Recordings proved otherwise. Operation Ifamos in Calabria in 2020 named 2 Australian multimillionaire fruit and vegetable kings as active capos with direct ties to the organization in Italy. Social costs are incalculable. Decades of extortion against Coles and Woolworths artificially inflated food prices for millions of Australians. Cannabis and ecstasy distributed by the Ndrangheta fueled addictions that destroyed families. Massive money laundering distorted real estate markets, raising prices beyond legitimate buyers' reach. Violence commissioned to motorcycle clubs claimed innocent lives in crossfire. And Donald Mackay, who tried to expose the truth in 1977, remains buried somewhere unknown, his family without closure after nearly 5 decades. Melbourne remains the heart of the Australian Ndrangheta. The Barbaro, Sergi, and Papalia families still reside in and around the city. Their businesses continue operating. Their children attend the same schools as children of police and judges. Griffith maintains its appearance of prosperous agricultural town, while farms that once hid cannabis now cultivate legitimate products with criminal profits laundered over generations. Victoria Market, where it all began in 1930, was relocated to Epping in 2015, but the same names control stalls at the new location. The great lesson is this: the Ndrangheta didn't conquer Australia with violence. It did so with patience. It built power generation after generation, marriage after marriage, business after business. When authorities finally reacted, the organization was already part of the country's social and economic fabric. Dismantling it completely would require unraveling decades of community integration, undoing thousands of business relationships, and prosecuting entire families whose criminal connections are impossible to prove in court because omerta remains intact. In Calabria, the capos watch. Australia proved to be the perfect market, far from Europe, poorly monitored, culturally naive about mafia, with insatiable drug demand and little international police cooperation until recent years. They lost some battles, but the war continues. Because the Ndrangheta doesn't think in quarters or political terms. It thinks in centuries, and Melbourne, silent and prosperous, remains theirs.